When you think about businesses that are selling through the roof, like Skims or Allbirds, sure, you think about a great product, a cool brand, and great marketing. But an often overlooked secret is actually the businesses behind the business, making selling and for shoppers buying simple. For millions of businesses, that business is Shopify. It's home of Shop Pay, the #1 checkout in the world. You can use it to boost conversions up to 50%, meaning way less carts going abandoned and way more sales going through to checkout. Upgrade your business and get the same checkout Allbirds uses. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/income, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/income to upgrade your selling today. Shopify.com/income.
This is The Planted Runner. I'm Coach Claire Bartholic, and I'm glad to be back with new episodes after a bit of a break. Today, we're getting back on track, so what's a better topic than talking all about the track itself? For some people, a running track evokes fear, intimidation, and even disgust. I would bet it's even less popular than the dreaded treadmill, which, by the way, is also a great place to run. Maybe it's a resurfacing of childhood memories of being forced to run during gym class. If you were not an athlete back then, the idea of running a mile on the track probably still invokes a trauma response. But if you're lucky enough to have access to a local track today, it can be the very best thing to get better and faster at running. Let's find out why. Welcome to The Planted Runner. I'm Coach Claire Bartholic, and my mission is to help you improve your running, your mindset, and your life with science-backed training and plant-based nutrition. Today, we'll go over the common and perhaps misguided perceptions of track running, how you can use the track to improve your running, and the important rules of the track so you won't look like a newbie out there, even if you've never run on a track before. And I'll also get into why you just might learn to love it. Yes, it is possible. Don't forget to stay tuned all the way to the end of the episode for another Mental Strength Minute. Fortify your mind in 60 seconds or less. To be clear, you don't need to run on a track to get better at running. So if you simply don't have access to a track where you live, you absolutely can improve at running without it. But if you're fortunate enough to be able to use one regularly, consider yourself lucky. The track is perfectly measured, free of obstacles or elevation changes. It's been engineered to be the best surface to run on anywhere. That's why it's so great for any runner. It takes out as many variables as possible, which makes running faster, easier. But of course, making running as easy as possible has a downside. The easy route is usually the boring route. If you look at the track as a torture device of ultimate boredom, then no, you probably aren't going to get a whole lot out of it. On the other hand, if you're looking for any edge in your training and are hoping to make faster running just a little easier, the track can be an amazing tool. If you'd like to try working out at the track, the first step is finding out if you have access to one nearby. Most towns have a high school or college track that is open to the public at certain times, so check around and see if this is an option for you. Even better, if you're lucky to have a decent-sized running community in your area, there might be an organized track session each week. This is how I got started with track workouts. When I fell in love with running in my late 30s, I first joined a trail running group to learn my local trail system. When those runners told me about the Tuesday night track workouts, my first reaction was, no way. Running around in circles with strangers sounded horrible. But eventually, with enough positive peer pressure, I worked up the courage to join them, and I have to tell you, it was one of the best decisions for my running that I've ever made. The Tuesday track workouts helped my speed, my focus, and helped me find my tribe. Running hard is always hard, but running hard with other people makes it just a little bit easier. When you're ready to hit the track, there are some universal etiquette rules that you should know before starting your first session. Just like the rules of the road, the rules of the track help everyone share the space without crashing into each other. Now, if you're lucky enough to have the track entirely to yourself for your whole workout, feel free to do whatever you want. But as soon as another person shows up, you'll need to follow some standards. Knowing what you are doing keeps us all on the same page and can actually make the experience a lot less intimidating. I'll go over exactly what you need to know right after this. If you're a marathoner or half marathoner, now's the time to plan for success. Instead of relying on motivation or going at it alone, come join me and an amazing group of runners just like you on the PR team. It's a virtual running team and so much more. You'll get a custom training plan for all your running, strength, mobility, mental strength workouts, and more, all based on your fitness, goals, and lifestyle. You'll get all your questions answered by me and our super supportive team in a private online running community. And the coolest part is that you get access to an exclusive weekly private podcast just for the team. It's this sweet spot between just getting a DIY plan and full-on private coaching, even though you'll get lots of individual attention, all for a lot less than you might think. Team spots are limited, so sign up today at theplantedrunner.com/group. That's theplantedrunner.com/group. Welcome back to The Planted Runner. I'm Coach Claire Bartholic. Now that you've worked up the courage to try running on the track, it's time to learn a few universal rules. Before you even begin running on the track, take a look around and see what others are doing. If the school's team is working out, they have top priority and might not even want the public sharing this space at the same time, so be sure to double check that you've picked an okay time to be there. This should be obvious, but you should look both ways when crossing the track, but especially look to your left, where runners should be coming from. You don't want to stand around and make people run around you, so if you've brought a friend with you, don't stand on the track and chat. If you do get distracted or caught up in conversation, a common warning call is simply track. This is shorthand for get out of the way because someone is coming and you need to move. And it's a lot nicer than screaming move at someone. Which brings me to what should be another obvious point, but I've got to mention it anyway. Be sure that you can hear the people around you. Headphones are going to be an issue, so leave them at home or turn them way down. Now let's get into actually running on the track. And of course, you'll start with a good warm-up. You do warm up, right? Of course you do. As you start to warm up with some jogging or a few drills, be sure that you do that in the outer lanes, which should be a lot less crowded. Runners on the inside lanes have the right of way, and I'll get into that in just a bit. The most important rule to know is always run counterclockwise. In other words, all your turns should be left turns. The only exception to this is when the track isn't crowded and you're doing a cool down or a warm up. You can head to the outer lanes and run in retro, which means clockwise. This is only done as a way to balance out all those left turns. And again, it's only done when no one else is in your way. Really pay attention when you run in retro because this is like driving your car on the wrong side of the road and you're the one at fault for any crashes. The next rule is when you are running hard, run in lane 1 and own it, no matter what your pace is. Lane 1 is the innermost left lane, and it doesn't matter if you are slow or fast compared to others. You are entitled to lane 1 if you are running fast for you, period. Faster runners can go around you if they need to, but everyone deserves lane 1 when they are running hard. Now, this rule can be controversial. I've posted about this on Instagram and got some kind of nasty comments from people who say that slower runners need to move out of the way of the faster runners. But let me tell you, this is completely wrong on a community track. If you are running slow on purpose because you're getting some recovery between intervals or doing a warm-up or cool down, then yes, absolutely, move out of lane 1. But your interval work should be done in lane 1, no matter what your pace. This is the easiest place to measure your distance, which is half the reason you're at the track in the first place. It's also far easier for a faster runner to go around you since they would be coming up from behind instead of you trying to anticipate moving for a faster runner that you can't see. Now, if you need to pass the slower runner, always pass on their right. So that means you'll veer into lane 2 to pass someone in lane 1. When it's time to get back into lane 1, don't be that runner that abruptly jumps back in. Make sure that you are clear and you're a few steps ahead of the runner you just passed so you don't freak them out. If you've headed to the track with a friend or you're in a group, never run side by side unless you're actively passing someone. You should always run in single file in the faster lanes. This makes it easier for faster runners to pass your group, and not to mention it makes the distance equal for all the runners. When you're finishing up with your fast interval, be sure that you have a sense of who is around you and behind you. You don't want to suddenly come to a stop and get rear-ended. Take a quick glance over your shoulder and get out of lane 1 as soon as you can. When it's time for your cool down, head to those outside lanes and leave the inside lanes for those who are still running hard. Now, that might seem like a long list of rules for running in circles, but it's really not that complicated. Run single file, counterclockwise, fast in lane 1, slow in the outside lanes, and pay attention to your surroundings. But how do we make it less boring? I promised at the beginning that you might actually like track workouts, and I know that not everyone is convinced. The social aspects of running in a group are amazing, but that can also be found outside of a track. The reason the track can be fun is precisely because it's so precise. It's easy to make up little games and little goals that you can hit that can give you a boost of dopamine with each achievement. Let's say your workout is 10 by 400 meters, which is 1 lap around the track 10 times. Your goal is probably not to run those laps until you fall down and cry. Your goal is usually to get them as even as possible. That means you'll need to hold back for the first half and turn it up for the second half. When there's nothing else to think about other than running around the same oval, you can pay attention to your breathing. You can feel how high your heel comes up behind you. You can actively stretch your big toe with every push-off. What are your arms doing when you run hard? Is all the momentum going forward, or are your arms crossing over your midline? There are so many little things that your body is doing with every step during every run, and there's no better place to really focus on your form than on a track. Take a look at your watch at the halfway point of every interval. Are you halfway to your goal time? Should you speed up or slow down to nail your target? And speaking of your watch, your GPS is going to be fairly useless on the track. The oval is simply too tight for the satellites to understand exactly what you're doing. Even the wrist you are wearing your watch on will make a difference in the data, so it's far better to learn your goal times in minutes and seconds rather than pace per mile or kilometer. For example, if you are trying to run 8 minutes per mile for 400 meters, that breaks down to just under 2 minutes per lap. So at the 200 meter mark, you should be rolling by in about 60 seconds to stay on track. The trick is to try to do all of your math before you start running. When running hard, you need all your brain power going to your legs, not solving math problems. I hope I've encouraged you to try out your local track for your next speed workout. Not only can it make those workouts faster and more effective, but you might just find some like-minded runner souls out there that are running around in circles with you. And now it's time for the Mental Strength Minute. Fortify your mind in 60 seconds or less. Today's topic is, your goals are like a bar of soap. If you have a big running goal that you're working towards, it can be incredibly motivating. Every day, every workout can bring you closer to your dream. But if you focus on it too hard, it's like squeezing a wet bar of soap. The harder you grip your goal, the easier it slips away. Have a big goal, but hold on to it loosely. Work hard for it in your consistency, but not so hard that you push it away. Thank you for listening to The Planted Runner, part of the Evergreen Podcast Network. Don't forget that you can win free access to one of my sprint session masterclasses just for writing an Apple Podcast review. So be sure to write yours right after your run today. Reviews are the #1 way to boost this show's reach, and it's a great way to tell me what you'd like to hear next because I read every single one. Have a great run today.
Sports stars. They're like superheroes.
But they're actually real.
Which is why we've made a podcast about them. You see,
They've all got a story.
but too many of these stories were cut short.
Kobe Bryant,
Payne Stewart,
Flojo,
Phil Hughes.
Justin Fashanu,
We're writing episodes about all of them.
and sadly many more.
Death of a Sports Star, a new series from Crowd Network.